everybody, and welcome back to a brand new video. It has been so long since I've uploaded, and I am very sorry, but not that sorry, as life got really hectic and I was unemployed for a big old chunk of time, and now having a full-time job again, I'm like, wow, how does one labor and have side projects at the same time? But I figured it out, and look, the video is here. This is a very different kind of video than the videos I usually make. You guys tend to be very enthusiastic about wanting cooking content in my DMs, so I am currently trying to see what is the best way to incorporate cooking content into the main channel. So this is an experiment. We'll see how this does. And this is a plant-based eating video, which is new. Some of you might be like, are you vegan now? The answer is no, I am not. I'm still very much an omnivore. For the longest time, I have wanted to incorporate more meals with no animal product into my diet. It just never seemed like the right time. But turns out when you're in a pandemic and your social life is kind of just, you know, dwindled to a very small group of people, you gotta get creative about how to have a good time. And so mine involved a lot of time in the kitchen. I didn't think it was gonna be this fun and this easy and this tasty, but it has been. It's been a really good time, and I liked it so much, in fact, that I wanted to share some of my favorite recipes with you guys. Going vegan or vegetarian is a great way to minimize your carbon footprint. I'm not here to preach at you. I think that your relationship with food is a very personal, intimate thing, and for a lot of people, going vegan can be quite triggering and toxic. When you have people like Freely the Banana Girl body shaming people all over the internet while she eats like 100 fruits a day. That's gross. We're not about that. I think that there's not enough dialogue about the fact that you can eat vegan from time to time and not have to go this extreme of like committing to a vegan lifestyle. As great as I think that can be for an individual, for some people that's really limiting. It's expensive, and also it can bring out, I don't know, for me, it can bring out a toxic relationship with food by labeling things like good and bad, and I don't want to live my life like that anymore. I've done that, and I did that on the internet, side-eye. But I'm so grateful to have grown out of that, and just to say proudly that I love food. I love these foods, and I want you to enjoy this video about food. There you go. If you're new here, my name is Aline. I am a 23 tomorrow, happy birthday to me, who usually lives and works in New York City, but has been back in Montana for a few months during the pandemic to kind of just regroup, get our ducks in a row, and spend time with family safely and enjoyably. So that's my deal, but I'm not gonna waste any more of your time. Let's get into the video. Something that I undoubtedly miss from life pre-COVID is just going out to eat all the goddamn time. And specifically, I miss indulging in the flavors of Middle Eastern food, not gonna lie. I tried to make my own bastardized version of this vegan veggie shawarma. It's not really shawarma because, let's be honest, it's not shawarma, but it's close. It's close. It's shawarma's cousin. To begin, I am going to roast some eggplant and sweet potatoes. Actually, wash the eggplant first, which you're supposed to do. My mom taught me this. Transfer it to the pan. I have parchment paper laid down. And now I'm just going to drizzle some heavy olive oil on there, salt, pepper, mix them all together. Pop them in the oven. Now that that's in the oven, you want to go ahead and prepare your shawarma seasoning. So that is garlic, lemon, paprika, cumin, cinnamon, ginger, oregano, and cayenne. For this recipe, I added honey, but you can absolutely add maple syrup if you have issue with honey. So that's an easy substitution. And then olive oil. And while I was making this, I was watching Myths and Monsters, which is a 6-episode investigative documentary series into the history of fantasy and different fantasy tropes. Yeah, super cool. I'm the coolest kid in school. I just added a little salt in there too, and boom, it is done. Next, it's time to roughly chop some cauliflower and then throw some rinsed and dried chickpeas onto a prepared pan with parchment paper. Actually, I take it back. I'm going to do this wrong first, and then I'm going to correct myself, so watch this. So I throw the chickpeas on and the cauliflower. Ooh, yes, she looking good. And then I'm going to pour my shawarma seasoning on top. Why did I do this? I don't know. There's definitely a more effective way to do this. So there I am, drizzling away. And then I'm like, Oh shit, okay, I guess I'll take a spatula to try to get this more combined. Incorrect. I took everything out, I put it in a bowl, mixed it up, and threw it back onto the prepared pan. So instead of doing what I did first, throw everything into the bowl with the shawarma seasoning, mix it up. It works so much better to get an even coating on everything. And there you go, throw it into the oven with your eggplant and sweet potato. Now in a separate bowl, I'm gonna be making my hummus sauce. So this is my own recipe that I'm simply using with things I have in my fridge. I begin with adding hummus and this za'atar hummus that we just had, and I didn't love the consistency as a hummus, but in a sauce it works great. Some olive oil in there, coconut milk, and I'm just gonna mix it all together. I'm sorry that none of these measurements are very specific, but this is genuinely how I make it. I just make it by sight. So I'm throwing in some crushed garlic, some more coconut milk to get the right consistency, some more olive oil. I also spice it with some oregano and salt and pepper. Next, on a heated pita bread, you are going to spread some of that hummus sauce on there, a hefty amount. I really like it. And then you're going to throw on some of your veggies. So there's our sweet potato and eggplant. There are our cauliflower and chickpeas. Next, I'm going to adorn it with some thinly sliced cucumber that I had prepped earlier, and some purple cabbage. I love purple cabbage. It just introduces a different texture. You get some raw veggie as well as a pop of color, so it's so aesthetic. Then you're gonna just drizzle some of that extra hummus sauce over the top and decorate it with some chopped parsley or cilantro. Both would be great, something fresh or green. And there you have it, vegan shawarma. It is absolutely delicious. Squeeze some lime on there, and it's the perfect meal. It's the perfect meal. Okay, we are making nachos. This is one of my favorite recipes of the entire video, actually. I've made it probably the most amount of times. So to begin, we're making our cheese sauce. So we're throwing in a little pot a can of coconut milk, garlic, some nutritional yeast. I don't put too much in because I'm not nutritional yeast's biggest fan, but you might be, so feel free to add as much nutritional yeast as you want, depending on what kind of taste you're into. Next, we're gonna stir it all together and let it heat up a little bit before we add your favorite plant-based cheese. I opted for this Parmesan. Next, it's time for some cornstarch or tapioca flour. All-purpose is all right too if you don't have any of those. This is just for thickening. So once that's mixed up, you're gonna add some spices like this paprika over here, which will give it a gorgeous orange color and a smoky taste. And look at that. Oh, you're gonna add some more vegan cheese. Just a touch, you know? And after that, you're gonna add a little bit of onion powder, and that's where I think the recipe link down below calls it quits, but I find that if you add some Dijon mustard, maple syrup, and maybe even some vegetable broth, it comes out even more authentic tasting. I swear to God, I know those ingredients sound really weird. Anyway, now you can put that aside. So in a small saucepan, you are going to heat up some oil of your choosing. Of course, I opted for olive oil. And then you're just gonna throw in some poblano peppers, or you can throw in some red onion. Red peppers would also work great. It's really your choice at this point about what you like on your nachos. And next up, on a prepared pan with parchment paper, you're gonna toss on your tortilla chips. I chose these lime ones, which are so tasty. There's something about the lime that just is a good time. And now I'm going to scoop my toppings on. So this is the red onion poblano pepper mixture, and I'm just going to sprinkle that onto the first layer. Next, we've got refried beans. This is vegan chorizo, and it's absolutely tasty, but absolutely not necessary. So do not feel pressured to get vegan chorizo. Now we're going to do a hefty drizzle of the cheese sauce onto your nachos. And then you're gonna repeat every single step. So there are 2 layers to the nachos and everything gets an even coating. You may be wondering what I was watching in the background that day, and that is Neil Gaiman's masterclass on storytelling from masterclass.com. This is not sponsored whatsoever. It's just something that I indulged in after those YouTube ads got me back in April. So he has such a soothing voice, which makes it so comforting to watch. And the way that he describes character as giving them quote unquote funny hats makes me smile, as well as the way that he talks about writing rules. Because he mentions, that there are all these rules to writing and they can get very complicated. But the most important thing is the reader, and that the reader should be asking, what happened next. Ooh, chills. I love that. I love that. Next, you're gonna be seasoning your nachos with a little salt and pepper before you throw them in the oven just to bake for like 10 minutes. Let's play a game called Can You Spot My Dad? Watching me do all of this because he's simply entranced by his dinner. Yep, there he is. You got him. You won. He wasn't hard to miss, but you found him. And lastly, I finished these off with some homemade globs of guacamole. So there you have it. I'm thrilled with how these turned out. Honestly, I have some pretty high standards for my cooking, and these turned out way better than I even thought they were going to. So I'm a big fan, and hopefully you will be too. Let's talk pancakes. If you are familiar with me, you would know that I am the biggest living fan of the blueberry pancake, and this time of plant-based eating was no exception. This recipe is based off of Nora Cooks, so I'm definitely giving her credit here. So first I combined all my dry ingredients. I'm multiplying it because I'm making them for my family. And I'm also watching the For Harriet YouTube channel, which is run by Kimberly Foster. Big fan of her videos, have been for a minute. But recently she's been doing a lot of interviews with different authors and thinkers and professors, as well as other Black women and Black trans women, which I just think is amazing. So please go check her out. After I've combined all my dry ingredients, I'm moving on to the, ooh, you guessed it, the wet ingredients. The recipe calls for 1 cup of soy milk, but I love to use canned coconut milk instead. I think it gives it a thickness that, ooh, chef's kiss, is unmatched. This recipe has no eggs, so canola oil is what works kind of as a substitution in this case. And then to add some more moisture, you're gonna add some water. I actually used half water, half oat milk for some extra creaminess. It worked great. I don't know. Follow your dreams. And now I am combining them all together with a wooden spoon, a classic. A little bit of salt. I actually added some vanilla after this. I didn't show you, but I did. About like half a teaspoon. So if that helps. Now I'm greasing and heating my pancake pan. I'm using vegan butter, but if you don't have vegan butter on hand, you can absolutely just use coconut oil. And I'm now playing catch up on a couple of Carrie Hope Fletcher's videos, who I've been watching for forever. She has been, I don't know, fundamental, if I can use that word, in my development and creativity, not just as a internet person, but also just as a human. One of my recent favorite quotes of hers is, "No one's going to be impressed by you doing something you hate." I don't know why, but that just got me so hard. I love her. So back to pancaking. As you can see, I have ladled 4 dollops of batter onto the pan, and now I'm moving on and adding the blueberries because, as I said, blueberry pancakes are top tier. My mind's made up. You can't change it. No banana, no chocolate chip for me. It's blueberry. Blueberry all day. All day. The key to getting a good first pancake or first batch of pancakes, you guys, I feel like it took me forever to learn this. Let your pan heat up properly or you won't get the satisfying flip. Because if you're trying to cook pancakes on a cool pan, the batter is not going to do what the batter's supposed to do. Save yourself the heartache. Just heat your pan. Then you're ready to serve. These are perfect. My dad couldn't even tell, and he's been highly critical of the vegan moment happening in our house. Delicious, delicious. Just do yourself a favor, go eat them. Alright, next up is this pantry pasta that has become a staple in our household. So first, in a large pan, you're going to pour some olive oil and heat that up real quick before you add some chopped walnuts. You're going to add some chili flakes to your walnuts. I love a lot of chili flakes personally, but I have to kind of tone it down because my mom doesn't quite have the spice tolerance as I do. I throw in a little honey, but you absolutely don't need to do that. So if honey is something that bothers you, please don't. Then you're gonna let them simmer for a few minutes, almost candy. I think this usually lasts about 5-10 minutes until they have this deep brown color. Next, you're gonna go ahead and cook your pasta. So I add a little olive oil and quite a bit of salt to my pasta water, as lately I have discovered the beauty of cooking with pasta water, so you want it well seasoned. On this night in particular, I was feeling a little blue, just had a little case of the sads, so I put on that Netflix rom-com Love Guarantee. guaranteed. I hadn't seen it before. I just wanted something lighthearted and soothing, and it did do the trick. I don't remember much about it, except for one point when they made a joke about Chilean water, and were like, it tastes gross. Wrong. Chilean water is delicious, at least where I grew up, so, you know, I can't relate. I took that a little personally. I do think about it every few days. So that's me. So once you've washed out your pan from the walnuts, you're gonna just heat it up again and add some olive oil to it. Once that's the appropriate temperature, you want to add your garlic. You can add as much garlic as you want to taste. I am obsessed with garlic, so that's why there's an obscene amount in the pan. Once your water has come to a boil, it's time to add your pasta. I chose this rigatoni. You want something that has a pretty wide hole running through the cylinder, whether that's paccheri or rigatoni, so you can choose. So now it's time to add your herb to the garlic. This recipe usually calls for rosemary, but I didn't have any rosemary, and that's the beauty of pantry pasta. So I added oregano and parsley to this, which worked great. It still was super tasty, especially with the garlic. And speaking of garlic, once that's browned, you're gonna add your white beans. This recipe calls for white kidney beans or cannelli beans, but they didn't have any at my grocery store, so I used white northern beans. Honestly, I could not tell a difference. Maybe a bean expert could, but not me. Not me. You're just gonna mix those together and cook them for just a few extra minutes before you add your pasta water. This recipe calls for 1 cup of pasta water, but I have found that I end up using quite a bit more, so, you know, I think it's all to your taste, what kind of texture you want the sauce to be. It's time to add a little extra olive oil and let that do its thing. And after that, you're gonna let it simmer for a bit. Add some salt, some pepper to taste. Make sure that those beans are getting nice and soft because we are gonna blend them up in just a second. And that second is right now. So this is my mom's little, is this an egg beater? The fuck if I know. I really don't know. I don't have one of these back home in New York. Most people probably don't have these in their home. You can use a fork or a potato masher, anything that gets those beans nice and soft. You probably throw it in a NutriBullet or a blender even if you want to get your sauce extra fine and creamy. I'm adding a little extra oregano and some extra pasta water. Now it's time to add a little bit of lemon, a little bit more pepper. Pepper is the love of my life. Next, it's time to add your pasta. Fold it gently together, make sure that the noodles don't tear. But that's it, you guys. You're gonna top it with those walnuts that you set aside from earlier, and it is the perfect dish. It's so cozy and comforting, and it's got a little bit of texture and crunch. Next up, I'm gonna show you the breakfast that I make every day, which is a vegan granola bowl. So when I filmed this, it was still nectarine season, and I was obsessed with having nectarine in my granola. So here I am just slicing it up while I watch Avatar: The Last Airbender. I had never seen Avatar before. I mean, I'd seen the first 4 episodes when me and Michelle still lived in Chile, and they came out to rent at the video store on DVD, and I remember we were obsessed, but after that it would have taken months for the next episodes to become available, so we just kind of fell out with it and never picked it up again. But now watching it as an adult, it has been a breath of fresh air to my media, honestly. I don't know, there's something about kids fighting an overwhelming force of evil that always makes me a little hopeful about the world. So I don't know, highly recommend. I'm already thinking about rewatching it. I've said it before and I'll say it again, vegan yogurt is weird. So to try to combat the almost phlegm-like texture, I am combining this So Delicious coconut yogurt, which is pretty good, I will say, with regular canned coconut milk. Lately, I have been obsessed with this Purely Elizabeth Ancient Grain granola in the original flavor. There's a little bit of cinnamon and salt in there, which just makes it almost addicting because it's that perfect combination of sweet and salty. Now, I am just going to adorn the bowl with our thinly sliced nectarine slices. So it looks nice like that. Sprinkle some blueberries in there. Lately, I've been loving doing a ribbon of peanut butter on top. This peanut butter is just ground nuts, and they sell it at my local grocery store. It is delicious. Next to decorate it are some granola crumbles and a dollop of coconut milk. And there you go. Okay, that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked this one. I tried to keep it like informative and instructive as well as chatty and fun. I don't know if I achieved that goal, but it's something that I tried. You can follow me on Instagram to keep up with all of my shenanigans. And for those of you who are missing vlogs, me and Michelle have 2 already filmed. We are editing them right now and they should be up super soon. They are prime cozy content. Anyway, leave a comment down below with what you want to see next or what you want to see me cook next. Also, you try anything, I don't know, just talk to me. All the recipes are linked down below if you want to take a look at those if anything struck your fancy, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!